On this episode, we talk about MLS affiliations, crazy referees, and playing 5 hours worth of video games. What's up, everybody? This is Ray Sanders, and this is episode number 7 of Coach Knows Best. We're back at it. Caesar's shaking his head because he liked that introduction. So we've obviously been gone a long time. We always have an excuse of why we haven't done videos. We had a New Year's resolution that we were going to do a video every single week. We have thoroughly failed at that, obviously, Caesar. I completely blame you. But we had a lot going on. We've been in North Carolina, Philadelphia. We had the soccer tournament that we ran, the very first Aztecs Winter Cup tournament, which was a success overall. Caesar, you really came through at the end there on the Winter Cup.
Thanks. I always do.
I was going to emphasize on one of our episodes about how you literally contributed nothing to this tournament. Like, you didn't call a single team, you didn't email anybody, you didn't do anything. Yet, at the last moment, you really came through. So we appreciate you, Caesar. We appreciate everybody that put in all their hard work on the tournament. We got some good questions today. We're going to be dedicated to doing a video every week. That being said, let's rock and roll.
What do you think about clubs with professional affiliation with the MLS?
So this is a good question. I think that one of the reasons why this is such a good question, or why this question interests me so much, is because formerly I used to be anti-affiliations, and then we ended up biting the bullet and made an affiliation with Seattle Sounders. So, which I love. I love what it is that we have going on with Seattle. So first I'll talk about what I hate about these affiliations. Basically, what I hate about the affiliations is that there's a huge illusion. There's no value that ends up coming back from the professional club down to the youth team 99% of the time. Zero value. It's a marketing ploy, usually from the club or from the professional club, where now they have this youth team that they can slap their logos on and their name, and they get to see it all over the place. And then there's not really any clear pathway for a player to go from that club to go and playing with their academy or even their second or first division team. So I just don't like it. I think that a good example of this is if you look at Kansas Sporting or Sporting FC. They have an affiliation, I think, with something like 1,100 teams. At that point, it just kind of devalues being able to dream, and he's able to wear let's say the Sporting FC jacket and scarf and get really excited about that. And I like that. Because I think that kids need to dream in order to be able to, reach farther along as far as their goals and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if 1,100 other teams have that, then where's the value? How do they feel about that? Does Sporting FC have directors and people that are working with them in order, and I'm not trying to completely bash them because I don't know all the nuances of them, but do they have people that are working with all of their coaches or their programs or their affiliates in order to make it more authentic? When we've been approached in the past and we began to go back and forth, everything that was basically presented to us, when I would ask, well, what is the value that we get? They would say, well, when you have a kid, that's good enough. He could maybe make it onto the first team, or he can maybe get called into the program. And it's like, well, yeah, but if he's talented and I just call you, wouldn't you at least hear me anyways? And they would basically say yes. And then the second thing was always, well, this is going to be marketability. If you put our name on your jersey, you're going to end up attracting so many kids to your club. And we really just didn't want to change our name, change our colors, change our logos, change everything about us in order to try to match some club that basically doesn't really care about us. So I was really anti all these affiliations, especially the ones that are like based out of Mexico, because a lot of times those ones really aren't that authentic. You end up having like, oh, dude, my cousin, uncle's brother, sister-in-law, he works for this club in Mexico, Pachuca, and we'll be able to get you guys in, and it's super fake. They don't even know who that guy is. They get a business card with it, and on and on. So anyway, so that's where we were with it. The reason why I like affiliations is the idea behind it, which is, as a club in Bakersfield, we are not able to provide any professional soccer for the kids. So the kids that actually have talent. So for us, what I liked about it is that could we create a scenario from a 5-year-old kid until being a professional, some type of pathway that is real, authentic, and on it goes. So what I found from everybody that's approached us, we've been approached probably by 6 different MLS clubs, 3 Mexico clubs, even some European stuff. What I like the most about Seattle Sounders is that their staff is actually dedicated with a clear pathway of this is what it's going to look like. As an example, it's a perfect example. This is just great timing with the question. Marlon Vargas, a former player for the Aztecs Academy, he's at the Seattle Sounders Academy program right now. He plays for their 2000s. He's a 2001. Right now, currently, today, as I film this, he is in Chula Vista with the first team, with Clint Dempsey, with Roman Torres, with all those guys, training in the preseason with the first team as a 17-year-old kid. Now, that's 1 in 1,000 kids maybe within our club. We have another kid, Bryson Hankins, who's there, and he's doing really, really well, having a ton of success. But my point is that that's not necessarily for everyone. But for the kid who's a 7-year-old, who's maybe not that good even, it's a real opportunity that he'll be able to have. So again, I just think that some of these affiliations, the majority of the time, they're a marketing ploy. That's why I don't like them. It's a money grab. A lot of times you have to pay the MLS club that you have that affiliation going with, and so I'm really against that. If you have a relationship like what we have with Seattle, where there's an authentic pathway, they have staff that is dedicated just to their affiliates. They've come down 3 or 4 times to do stuff for us. We have coaching clinics that we're able to go and do up there. I like that. So otherwise, I think it's a waste, and just go onto soccer.com and go and buy whatever it is that you want and dream that way.
How do I keep my kid motivated?
Okay, so question overall, it's a question I've gotten 1,000 times. It's a question like this, Caesar, remind me too, dude, that I want to do some type of a podcast or some type of like a show after the show with me and you could talk more and it'd be great. But these are the types of questions that are hard to answer in 5 minutes. So
really an idea.
I swear you're an idiot. So how do you keep your kid motivated? The reality is, the answer is you don't. That's the answer. No matter what it is that I say, I'm going to suggest a few things. I'm going to talk about a few different variables. But the idea of how do I keep my kid motivated is silly. Does your kid love soccer or not? That is the question you need to ask yourself when it comes to this scenario. Does your kid love to play or not? Me and Caesar off camera, we're talking about practice, right? So when I was a kid, I loved practice. I couldn't wait to get to practice. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I loved soccer, so I loved to play. So when it was time to go to practice, I was like, come on, Mom, come on, Mom, come on, Mom. If I had to miss practice because of something that was family-oriented, I would cry. I was always whining about it. I couldn't wait. I hated when the season ended when I was playing like AYSO as an example. I loved club just because I loved playing all year. That's all. That's literally why I loved club, was because it was going to be all year long. And so I loved it. Caesar, on the other hand, was talking about how he hated going to practice and he didn't like it, and how his coach was a punk and he used some Spanish words that are not good or clean. So those are 2 different scenarios, right? And I'll break down why I think that some of the differences are, but in a second. But I think that the first thing is does your kid love it? Like, are they chomping at the bit to get to practice, right? So that's probably one of the first things that you have to ask yourself, and you have to just accept the fact that they are not. If they don't love soccer, then that's just the way it goes. Now, how do I keep my kid motivated is a little bit different than should I keep my kid accountable, right? So what I mean by that is, my son, I don't need to motivate him when it comes to soccer, but I have no problem holding him accountable to his responsibilities, to training hard, to giving every ounce of effort that he has, having good work ethic, listening to the coach. That is where he's going to definitely be held accountable. If there's days where he doesn't want to go to practice because he's too tired or whatever it may be, then I'm going to hold him accountable. Sorry, you have to go to practice. But there's a difference between I'm having to drag him out the door every day for 2 years versus he had a bad day here, he had a bad month there, whatever it may be. Those are 2 different things. And so when you ask, how do I keep myself motivated or my kid motivated, you need to look at those things. What do I mean? Well, he's not working hard on the field. Well, why? Right? Does he not really like soccer? Does he not want to score goals? Does he not want to play defense? Is he not like, how do I keep my kid motivated? Like, why isn't he practicing in the backyard? Don't impose your adult mentality on your kid. Maybe he just doesn't like that. Maybe he's not there yet. Maybe that's not his age. So I think these are some of the different things that you have to kind of look at. Listen, I'm going to be real honest. I'm not trying to tell people how to parent. I think that there's something to be said, though. I'll say this one spiel and then that's it as it pertains to this issue. I think that there's something to be said of the fact that maybe you let your kid games, watch TV all day long, on and on it goes, in general have a lazy atmosphere or environment at home, and then you expect them to come out and work their butts off at practice. And so there's character issues that are involved there where their work ethic and all of that is a reflection of what it is that they're doing at the practice field, sometimes of the reflection of what it is that they're doing at home. So take that into consideration. Parent however it is that you like. I don't care. But when it comes to your kid being motivated, that's something to take into consideration. So now let's talk about Caesar's scenario though, where he didn't like going to practice. Well, Caesar said some foul things about his coach, right? The environment, I do think, is important. Does a coach cultivate and create this environment that's enjoyable, that everybody likes, that the kids like, that they're excited to play? It doesn't necessarily feel like practice. I think that that's important. So can you help that environment? Can you also associate, so sorry, let me go back to that for a second. Can you put your kid in an environment where they're loving it, they're enjoying it, and they're getting better at it? It's not hard to stay motivated to play 5 hours worth of video games, right? Because it's fun. So is practice fun? I'm not talking about playing duck, duck, goose. I'm not talking about being soft. I'm talking about they love soccer. The environment is created to ultimately the kids that love soccer in that environment, and they love it. Not some type of Hitler, Stalin, yelling, screaming, pushing kids, mocking them all the time, making fun of them all the time. That's not a good environment. And even if you love soccer, you're not going to be motivated within that environment. Does your kid have other characteristics that go beyond soccer? Like, do they not like challenges? Do they not like to be pushed? Do they not like to be held accountable and told that they were wrong? A lot of times I see these kids that are not motivated anymore. This comes from from parents who perceived their kids to be motivated in the past. And whether they were or weren't isn't the point. The point is that there were probably kids that were really good in the past. Kids caught up. Now they're being challenged. Now they don't want to put forth the work because they got used to the easy path. This is a lot of times why some of the kids that are not the best at 8 to 12, 13 years old end up being some of the best players at 13 to 18 years old. So these are all variables, all things to be to take into consideration. I mean, look, why your kid is not motivated is really, really circumstantial. But I just think in general, if your kid loves soccer, being motivated really isn't a challenge. If your kid doesn't like it and you're always having to scream and yell at them, then you should probably think about why and ask yourself that, whether or not they really like soccer.
What is the craziest thing you've ever seen a ref do?
So we've talked about refs and about bad refs. I've caught a couple high school games this year. Reffing is certainly interesting, but it's not just high school, it's club, it's everywhere. Bad reffing. I see bad coaching. I see bad soccer players. I see a lot of bad parents. I see a lot of bad stuff. So it's not that all referees are bad. I think that first of all, parents need to lay off the referees a lot. Coaches need to lay off the referees a lot. I think that the reason why, my opinion, is that the reason why referees are so poor and so bad is because a lot of them probably weren't great players, and so they never played at a high level. So then it's really challenging for them to come in and memorize rules and then coach at a high level referee at a high level because they're not able to interpret the circumstances. But that being said, two crazy scenarios that I saw from a ref, and this was a learning lesson. One of them was my fault for sure, and it was in the semifinal of a tournament. It was like the farthest my team had gotten. It was the first year I was coaching. I was like 23 years old, and I was all pumped up and riled up, and like I'm coming into it like I'm listening to music before the game. Like it was dumb, and so anyhow, they kick off the ball. Ball gets. They're playing possession in the back. Ball goes out of bounds. It was clearly our ball. Gives it to them. So we're maybe not even a minute into the game or so. It was clearly our ball. Gives it to them. I say something sarcastic to the ref about this will not be how it goes all game, or I'm going to be on you. He's like, "You're not going to be on me. You're out." And he kicks me out of the game. This is 1 minute into the game. It was really dumb. And then he's like, "Where's the coach?" He's like, "I told you to leave." And I'm like, "I am the coach." So I think he was kicking me out because he just thought that I was some random dad. And then he was like, "Well, you're gone," and I got kicked out in the first game in the first minute of the game. So that was embarrassing, and that was really crazy by the referee, in my opinion. It was stupid. I shouldn't have said anything. I'm always sarcastic with referees, so that's good because they usually aren't quick enough to pick up on what it is that I'm saying. But that was nuts. The second one, I felt really, really bad, and so that first story is a reason why I don't yell at the referees as much. The second story was, it was in a local Bakersfield league. I was coaching like 7-year-old boys, 8-year-old boys. We have like some type of a breakaway. The referee is maybe 12 years old, 13 years old. It's a young little girl. We're dribbling down on a breakaway. At the time, I think it's 1-0. It's early on in the game. The goalie comes out, and this other kid from behind kind of pushes our kid. Goalie comes out. They clear the ball out for a throw-in. Our kid falls. Probably not a PK. I thought that it was a PK. Ball goes out of bounds. Our kid picks up the ball to throw in the ball, and I just basically verbally say, "Ref, that was clearly a PK." She looks at me, looks back, looks at me, looks back, and she called a PK. So this is like 15 seconds, 20 seconds later. It was so abnormal. The girl looked so confused, so intimidated. I felt horrible. I felt a little bit better because we won the game like 8-1, so we would have won anyways. But I mean, the girl was just really, really intimidated, really out of her league. I've never in my life ever seen anything like that, and so those are probably two of the crazier scenarios. I mean, I've seen some bad officiating, I've seen some crazy officiating, but those two scenarios were pretty nuts. All right, sweet. So episode number 7 in the book, Caesar. I'm proud of you. You got through it. We barely made it, I got to be honest. We had a lot of mess ups, a lot of outtakes, or whatever those things are called, and bloopers. And so, but I'm a little rusty. Man. I'm not happy with today's episode. I think that we should redo these questions in 6 months.
No.
Yes. All right, so anyway, so that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I also wanted to give a shout out to my 03 girls. This is what they got me for Christmas. It's kind of cool. It was more practical, so this is so I could yell at them. So I'm pumped about that. I also accept Amazon gift cards. Even anybody that's watching the show, if you feel like sending me an Amazon gift card, you're more than welcome to. What else? I think that's about it. What I'm really curious about, I want to know your guys' craziest referee story. The craziest thing you've ever seen from a ref. Put it in the comments. I'm really curious about that. Everybody has a crazy referee story, and so let us know. We will start having our episodes launch every single Wednesday. Today's a Friday. We're going to put this one out today. From this point on, we're going to put them out every Wednesday. If not, feel free to email Caesar with all of your complaints. Outside of that, thank you guys for watching the show today. Email me your questions, ray7sanders@gmail.com. That's Ray, the number 7, Sanders like the Colonel, @imag.com. And other than that, we'll see you later.